Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook, so you can stop guessing and start healing and finally feel like yourself again. No more one-size-fits-all protocols, just real answers, deep-rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. I think that this is going to be a really fun conversation. I will spoil the surprise, and I have two amazing guests with me, so you won't just hear me talk today. You'll hear from Sarah and Anabelle as well. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself, kind of how I got into peptides, why I am introducing them. I'm going to try to keep this short-ish. And so if you do have something more personal, please just shoot me a DM. Shannon Salgi is my name on Facebook and Instagram. Most of you guys know me. But you can also email me at shannon@thewellnessparadigm.com too. For those of you that don't know me, I am Shannon Salgi. I am a functional nutritionist. I'm a bioresonance practitioner. I own a company called The Wellness Paradigm. And we really help clients primarily dealing with hormone issues and gut issues and metabolic resistance, weight loss issues, chronic symptoms, energy crashes, you name it. I've been doing this for about 15 years and I absolutely love it. And we are really anchored in nutrition and lifestyle protocols. Bioresonance scanning is absolutely incredible. I won't really get into it, but scanning the body's energetic field, seeing what is needed. And then functional labs and nervous system work. I really believe that there's not one single tool, like the internet will make you believe, that is like the magical thing. And even when we talk about peptides, I'm going to talk about it with integrity because I think there's also a lack of transparency and integrity in this as well. So, I believe that it is not a shortcut or a magic fix, but rather a really amazing tool when used properly that can be integrated in your guys' health journeys. And for me, I've worked with hundreds of women and, these foundations change so many lives, but I started to notice, a pattern, right? Some women were doing everything right and yet nothing was working. And, it was, they were balancing the blood sugar, they were eating the protein, they were doing the workouts, they were sleeping better, they were feeling better, they were doing the stress work, and yet like their bodies were stuck. And that's kind of what led me to peptides. And I will say that this isn't new for me necessarily. I've actually used peptides in my company for many years, but they were a lot less accessible. And they were a lot harder to come by. They were also it was expensive to partner with an MD. They would have to pay for another consultation. They would have to try to explain everything to that person. And then sometimes it would also take weeks to get in. And it was just like there was this huge barrier to entry. And they also didn't usually have a lot of options as well. So when I was really looking into this, I was like, how can I make this more accessible and easier for clients while still having something that had a lot of medical oversight, which was another really important thing for me as well. So, we'll talk about that. And, essentially, I think peptides get this rap about only being about weight loss, right? We hear a lot about weight loss on peptides, and yes, they can be very, very good for that. But that's not the only thing. Peptides are not just GLP-1s like we hear about, right? They are, what they really are is they're small proteins. They're little chains of amino acids, and they tell your cells like what to do, and they signal to tissues to repair and balance inflammation and help with your hormones, help with your metabolism, help with your energy, depending on like the peptide. And so they're just so much more than just weight loss, right? Gut integrity, that's a huge one. Cellular energy, mitochondrial repair, pain support, sexual function, mood, focus. Mm-hmm. So they're really just instructions, right? They tell your cells what to do, like repair this and reduce that and strengthen this and calm that. And kind of the more I got into them, the more I realized that they really weren't hype, right? There is really amazing science behind this. And when used properly, they can be an incredible addition. So I think they're the missing bridge for a lot of different protocols. I've seen a lot of really great success when we've introduced them. And so I've just decided to bring it a little bit more mainstream and let you guys in on little secrets that we've been, utilizing behind the scenes. And I'll say this again, because this is very important for me. It's just like, Integrity matters a lot to me. That is something I stand on. I will die on my hill on that. And peptides are not a quick fix. There's a lot of nonsense on the internet, okay? They don't replace nutrition. They don't replace mineral work or gut work or nervous system work, but they amplify what's already in motion. And they are like, I kind of think of them like the spark, not the whole fire, right? And so, you know, when we talk about these, you know, I always say they're in addition to, not just the only thing. And, you know, I know in my practice, I utilize, you know, functional protocols with drainage and gut support and minerals and nervous system work. I layer them in my scans and I test clients against them too, which is really fun because when those foundations are in place, everything, even the peptide is going to work like 10 times more too, right? But yeah, they're an amazing tool when used with intention and integrity, the proper dosing, the proper guide. And so, yeah, that's, I'm going to also just say one more thing is when I looked into a company to share with you guys and to partner with, there were some things that were really, really important to me, right? I needed something that had some approved compounding, FDA approved compounding. I needed something in the US, not some sketchy China or overseas company. I'm seeing a lot of those guys, not for human consumption on the label, right? You know, you don't know what you're getting. They're laden with heavy metals and God knows what. You know, I wanted something that was purified. I wanted something that had medical oversight. That was not, you know, me. I think that's a really, really big thing in this industry right now, proper dosing. And something where you guys could talk to an MD if you had questions on dosing or if this is the right fit, and something that was actually approved medically instead of just like, this sounded good. Some person on the internet said that I could buy this and I just bought it, right? It can be dangerous too. Peptides are great. They can also, you know, they can create issues if not taken correctly, right? But I do want to make sure that if it is something you are exploring, you feel really educated, you feel supported, and you feel excited about it, you know, going forward. So, but I didn't want you to just hear me talk because I know some of you guys have been on calls with me. I mean, I love that you love to hear me talk, but I did bring some beautiful people on to kind of do more of a Q&A style. I thought this would be really fun to hear not just my insights, but other people's insights on, you know, what they are, their kind of background in them, and what they've seen as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Anabelle and Sarah to answer a few questions. They'll kind of bop back and forth and try to keep the answers 1 to 2 minutes, ladies. It might be hard because some of the questions might be meaty. I want to get started and kind of dive in first with, I'll start with you, Sarah. Is like, what got you actually interested in peptides too?
Yeah. So, you know, my background's in anesthesia. I've been doing that, providing anesthesia now for about 12 years. Did the ICU. I practiced in the ICU for many years before that. I used to do pediatrics. And I think in my career, you see these patients on your operating room table with so much chronic disease, right? With things that are preventable. And it starts to get a little bit disheartening because people have gotten so sick and it feels more like sick care than health care. And for a very long time too, I've suffered with my own issues with metabolic disease, insulin resistance, fatigue, all of those things. I was a good 50 pounds heavier than I am now as well, really struggling, going through IVF treatments. I have my own infertility journey as well. And I always thought to myself, I wish there's better tools out there for people because it wasn't for a lack of trying for people to like try and treat this chronic disease. People do work hard, but it felt like everything was stacking up against them, right? So peptides actually came onto my radar about 3 years ago because one of my old classmates from grad school, she owns and operates a med spa out of Wisconsin, and they had their own weight loss peptide practice that she was getting started up, and they actually train different med spas throughout the US on how to do that as well. So it's really interesting. She partnered with like a nurse practitioner and they do like some functional medicine stuff too. She lost a ton of weight as well because she started on these peptides, but she was also adding in NAD. She had also looked into things like Semarelin to pull other levers. And she was literally aging in reverse. And it wasn't because she was doing Botox and filler and everything. Like, honestly, it was truly, she had that tool. And just like Shannon was talking about, use it as a tool alongside some healthy habits. So that's really how it came onto my radar, because finally for me, I was like, okay, this is something that is actually going to impact my patient population that I'm taking care of. And I do see it in the operating room with certain people. You see them come in, they're getting off their blood pressure medications, their diabetes medications, their high cholesterol. I have both my aging parents on these peptides now too. My dad's taking BPC 157 stacked with TB 500. I know this sounds like a lot to you guys, but this is all things that are offered, right? It's gut health, healing, joint support. He's on that too. So that's really what opened my eyes too. And like another little interesting tidbit with this as well is there is actually data coming out where hospitals are actually looking at revenue streams. A huge revenue stream is open heart surgeries, joint replacements, vascular surgeries, right? They're actually starting to account for a drop in some of these surgeries because of some of these peptides that are coming out. They're true preventative health, just with those patient populations, which I thought was so fascinating. I'm like, that's great. Put me out of a job, because I would rather be working with these peptides anyway than having to give anesthesia to people that's treating disease as opposed to trying to prevent it. So really that's what got it on my radar.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
The data too, so please share.
Yeah.
Annabelle, what about you?
So I have an interesting story because I've always looked the same. And when people see me, they're like, I have no idea what it is that you're talking about that you need. So I was the one that was doing all the right things my entire life. Like, I've worked out my entire life. I've always been the same weight. I've always taken really good care of myself. And about 7 years ago, so when my youngest was born, 8 years ago, I caught an infection during birth that went from my uterus that I went septic. And they had no idea what bacteria I had caught. So the infectious disease doctor goes, I've never heard of this. So we're just going to treat you with like the Hiroshima bomb of antibiotics. And so I was on antibiotics for about 3 months. And it destroyed me. Like, it completely changed my health. And so I struggle with infections monthly after that of different things. And it just really got my health to, I had no health. So I looked normal and everybody's like, I don't know why you're complaining all the time. So my story, my change, my transformation is 100% internal. My stomach lining was completely destroyed. I think it accelerated my perimenopause. So I started with symptoms very early on. I started like at the end of my 30s, and it got progressively worse. And at the beginning of this year, so fast forward 3 years, where I couldn't think, my brain fog was progressively worse every year. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have dementia. I truly believed I was losing my brain. And I made an appointment with a neurologist. I was getting an MRI, everything. And it's funny because one of my husband's patients was a partner with Ali, and she's like, would you let me just talk to you about this? Let's just have a conversation. And I did. And this was like 3 weeks before I had my appointment scheduled for my MRI. And I researched it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to give this a try, because I am doing everything. I'm working out. Mind you, I gained 8 pounds, which is nothing when you think about people talking about perimenopause and gaining 30 pounds, 40 pounds. So 3 weeks in, all those symptoms started lifting. It wasn't a miracle, but it was a relief that I hadn't had in years. And I was like, oh my gosh, it gave me so much hope. So I just kept on going. I started with 3 different peptides, and I think that it was very synergistic for me. And I tackled all the things that were really, really affecting me. And when I added NAD at the end of those 3 weeks, my brain fog was like gone. I still am a woman in my 40s. I still forget my keys sometimes, but I could think, I could structure a sentence. I felt like I couldn't even speak clearly. Mm-hmm. And so it was that it was that profound. And that's how I decided that I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to tell the world that this was something that was available to them as a resource and as a support that your body might need when you're doing all the right things.
Yeah, I always love hearing people's stories around peptides, like what got them into it, but also like their transformations. Because I've seen so many where it's like I was on the floor and now I'm like, running a marathon, but I've also seen people, it's like I felt good and now I feel great. And I think that's one thing that's there's like a missing puzzle piece is like you don't have to feel absolutely terrible. You don't have to be super overweight. You don't have to be battling with all these chronic illnesses. That stuff brings a lot of attention, especially on the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of viral, stuff, but it's also just like I feel good, but I could feel better, right? My inflammation could be better, my brain fat, my energy, my literal like mitochondrial health. I could be aging a little bit better, right? So it's like I do want to also bridge that gap because sometimes it can be good to great. Doesn't have to be, on the floor. And I think that kind of leads to another discussion that I think is really important. So I'm just going to shoot it out there. One of the biggest questions I'll get is like, are they safe? Right? Right? What makes them, different? It's gotten so trendy in the last year, particularly. It's really exploded. And I think some good, some maybe not as great. And so I'd love for, either of you to answer the question, like, if somebody asks, like, are these safe? How do you reply?
Yeah. I can start with that if you want me to.
Go for
I have
it.
lots of thoughts on this. I mean, I'm a very conservative provider, when I do anesthesia, and I'm the same way with this too. But when it comes to peptides, like GLP-1 is probably one of the more popular one, right? So that's like your semaglutide, tirzepatide, trade name Zepbound, things like that. It's been around for over 20 years too. And the way it works, it's an agonist. Okay. So it actually helps your natural GLP-1 in your body actually stick around. So your normal GLP-1 in your body gets broken down by an enzyme called DPP4. Okay. So it literally only hangs out for like 30 seconds, maybe a minute in your body. So really what these peptides do is it bridges a gap, works as an agonist so that GLP-1 actually sticks around. And it actually has so many healing properties as far as like, your metabolism, inflammation. For me, myself, I lost about 50 pounds on them. If you wouldn't even recognize my old photo of me with the inflammation in my face, but also I went through many, many, many years of IVF rounds, more than I can count. I stopped counting, many miscarriages, and I decided I'm going to take a break and I am going to get myself in the best health I can, lose some weight, use it as a tool. I also use NAD. And I was like, we did one last Hail Mary embryo transfer. And I'm now 27 weeks pregnant at 42 years old. And what a time to be alive too, that I have this as a tool. I'm not saying this is the only thing that got me pregnant, but there are some fertility doctors, reproductive endocrinologists getting their patients started on a small dose of a GLP-1 to prep them and getting them on good nutrition plan, things like that, prep them for their IVF rounds as well. There's NAD also shows some promising studies on egg quality too, which I also love as well. So anyway, when it comes to safety, they have been around, they have been studied as well. And then there's also other amazing peptides, which again, I wouldn't even call them full on pharmaceutical. I don't know if you would agree with this or not, Shannon, but they're really kind of a bridge, it's like a key, like really working with your natural peptides in your body too.
Yeah. I want to add, and I think you touched on this at the beginning of the call, Shannon. You were saying, yes, they're safe as long as you're doing it the right way, as long as it's dosed properly, as long as you're having the overseeing of a practitioner or a wellness coach that is in tune with this, that is studying this, that is helping you also do the right things when you're on these. Because, for instance, let's talk about something that's not a GLP-1, sermorelin. You need to know that you're taking sermorelin at night on an empty stomach, but there are other things that you can do to help, your body really receive that peptide and utilize it properly. So if you're not working out, if you're not lifting heavy weights, you're wasting your money with Sermorelin. It's not going to magically give you muscles. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't happen. So, but also, like, there's people that have certain underlying conditions that shouldn't be taking Sermorelin. And that's why it's so, so, so important. I cannot stress this enough, that if you are going to go down this path and you are going to decide to provide this level of support for your body, then you need to be talking to a practitioner that, or disclosing your healthcare history to a practitioner that can decide, is this safe for you or not? Okay, so that's the main goal here. But once, you've been cleared and you're safe, the safety profile of these, there's really not documented life-threatening issues with most of these peptides. Obviously, we all know about the GLP-1s, which is a very specific population that's being studied that has presented certain, severe side effects. But that's also in a very, very small percentage of that studied population, which is people with severe obesity and type 2 diabetes mostly.
Yeah. And I want to just add on that too. A lot of times people get the side effects because they're going way too high of a dose, way too quickly. I personally actually did get prescribed a GLP-1 by my primary care physician before anyone really knew what it was. I had honestly not hardly any support, like somebody like Shannon, as far as like nutrition, what you should be eating, but I'm in the medical field. So I was like, okay, I know what to do. Right. And I did have some side effects because there's an auto injector pen, and I went up very quickly on the dose. Whereas going through something like our provider that we use through telehealth with the entire, doctor team and everything, that help walk you through it. It's all about starting low and going slow too, which I think is really, really important. And all the people I've helped get started, I mean, it's amazing the results that they're getting and saying like, yeah, I don't really have many side effects. And if they do, they start hydrating more, they prioritize protein, they have their fiber, there's so many things that you can do as well. And when I see people, honestly, like say in the operating room with people with lots of chronic disease, morbidly obese, gallbladder issues, diabetes, all of that, and they get started on these medications, sometimes it unveils other disease processes going on, and they see some symptoms from that too. But the average person who's using this as an extra tool to really get healthier, they really see great results with them.
I also am going to add to this because, some of my clients will understand this, is it's not always that they don't work or they aren't right for you too. It might be that they're not right for you right now. And, something that's really important to me is, making sure we're doing the foundations first and then adding this on. Right. And so for some people, if they're like, no, I tried, this and it didn't work, or I had this, side effect or whatever, it's like, okay, let's figure out, like, is it really that didn't agree with you, or is it that we have to work on some foundational things, get the body in a little bit better place so that can be amplified later. And sometimes when that happens and we reintroduce, it's like, boom, amazing. They just needed to work. You mentioned things like gallbladder. Oh my God, there's like an epidemic of gallbladder issues in women that I could go on for a long time. Which is a huge problem with bile flow, and that's going to create a lot of issues. But anyways, and so GLP-1s can be amplified, but also something like NAD. Like I love NAD, but it's not always good for people to start with NAD.
Right.
They need to start with some other things that might be too stimulating for them. Sermorelin, same thing. Or people just be like, oh, tesamorelin sounds amazing. Like, let's start with, probably not.
No, exactly.
Let's start with some other things. BPC is one of those that I really love. Like, that's probably what that got me started in the peptide world, was BPC 157. Back before it was like, it was very hard to find and get, and it was only usually in capsule form, at least the ones that I was able to get, which still can be helpful, but I do like, injectables if given the opportunity. So, so I guess another question to kind of weave in is probably second to most common question. How long does it typically take to see results? A question I get probably every day.
The magic wand, boom. Yeah. I'm going to take this one first. So I hope you don't mind, Sarah.
Yeah, please.
I think this is one of those things that it depends on the person. It depends on the peptide. And it depends on how many peptides you're doing at once, right? Because like some people start with one peptide and don't see results right away, and some people start with 3 peptides and don't see results right away. And then we've asked the same question to the doctors that are affiliated, that do the educational portion of Ellie, and they're like, I've seen people have results within a day for certain things. So it wildly varies depending on what you're trying to address. You might see results. So like, for instance, let me just put it this way. I started taking BPC for my stomach lining, right? My stomach was destroyed. 3 weeks in, my rotator cuff injury that I had for 3 years completely healed. And I wasn't even thinking of that. But I went to work out and I'm like, oh my God, it's not hurting anymore. What's happening? So it completely healed this where I wasn't even thinking about that. So it took 3 weeks for me to notice it because I wasn't even paying attention to it. So my point is, these peptides worked in very systematic ways in your body. And so, for instance, you're taking a GLP-1 and you're not losing weight. You might be somebody that really needs to stick with it because there's so many other things that this GLP-1 is addressing in your body, inflammation, high cholesterol, and so many other conditions that it could be working through before it gets to fix your metabolic health. So that's essentially, the long answer to it really depends.
Yeah. No, I think that's so true. I mean, and it's different for everyone. And I'd rather under promise and over deliver, and really just set your expectations. This is not a quick fix. It's not magic, right? That to say, I've had people, their very first time they take it, an hour later, my sister is one of those people. She's like, oh, this is what it feels like to not have food noise. Like this, it was the most magical feeling for her because most of her life that she can remember, it was all consuming for her too. And people say it helps with alcohol and other type of addiction. They're like those dopamine centers in your brain too. We could talk about this all night. I feel like too. And then some people like my dad, for example, it took him quite a bit longer for him to really feel the effects. But I have a similar story to Anabelle. It took 2 years, I'm going to be honest, being consistently on a GLP-1, and I was on a small maintenance dose over time. I felt fantastic on it. Okay. And I noticed, oh my gosh, my old hip and back pain went away from an old injury that when I used to do pediatric ICU back in the day, we had these beautiful, amazing kids I would take care of, but we didn't have big lifting equipment. I was moving kids around and doing all the things. And I always had a horrible back and, hip pain. And a lot of it, I think, was from the inflammation over time. And I think it did help that I lost some weight too, So yeah, different for everybody, not a quick fix. Go into it so you're pleasantly surprised. But also, I love what Anabelle said. There's so much going on in your body, even if you don't see the scale move too.
And the one thing too that is important to remember with peptides, and pointing to what you were saying initially, Shannon, not all peptides are made equally. And not all providers have the social responsibility to really do the right thing. And for us, through the telehealth platform that we're affiliated with, the doctors do not prescribe these on a monthly basis because they're doing you a disservice to sell you 1 month of a peptide. They prescribe this by the cycle, which is the most important thing. It's like getting antibiotics and stopping halfway through, right? You have to complete a cycle to really get the benefits of that peptide and what they can do for you. And there goes another question, do we stay on these forever or not? Well, it depends too. It depends on the person. If you are somebody that makes bad cholesterol and you are controlling your cholesterol with a very small microdose of a GLP-1 or any cholesterol drug, the moment that you remove that support, your body will continue to make bad cholesterol, right? So you might be a candidate to stay on a very small microdose for longevity and to keep certain markers in your body leveled for other people that had high cholesterol because they were eating McDonald's 4 times a week, maybe that person can fix their lifestyle habits while they're on a peptide protocol. And when they are at their ideal weight and they have new lifestyle habits, they can come off of it safely and sustain their new healthy lifestyles, right? So but I always say this is something that is entirely up to you, right? I decide that I want to provide that level of support for myself for longevity, but it isn't necessary. I cycle on and off of peptides, so I'm not continuously on everything at once. And it's just, providing that little like nudge. You're nudging your system saying, hey buddy, remember how to do this? Okay, let's perform this function now. Like, this is all it is. It's just nudging your body to do the functions that it naturally stops doing as we age.
Yeah. I think that's so important. That definitely is one of the questions, and that's probably the most common is like, do I have to be on this forever? Particularly more with the GLP ones, but even with other ones, I'll suggest. And when she talks about cycles are usually 2 to 3 months. And that is really important. Like, even if a client signs up in our full coaching program, they have to be with us 3 months. Like, things take time sometimes. And you're also going to go through different phases. Like GHKU. Like, you might not think that that's really important right now, not top priority, and might need to focus more on, the inflammation or gut. And then maybe you're like, you know what, let's start filtering in some NAD. Like, this is kind of fun. Or I'm going through, maybe you're starting to go through this perimenopause and you're starting to lose muscle and you're starting to have sleep issues, then maybe we start tinkering in with some more, right? So it's like, it's not meant to be all the time.
Exactly.
GLPs are kind of, I feel like, a little bit of the exception. One of the big reasons I actually wanted to be with this company too was for actually the fact that I could get microdosing, because that was not available. And people are really surprised when I say this, because I'm in the functional health world, I'm in the bioenergetic space, and they're like, really? But the more you learn about them, it's not just weight, it's this deeply rooted inflammation. Like, so many people that we've worked with holistic protocols and even supplements around food noise or inflammation, like, there wasn't anything that touched it quite the same. And people don't know microdosing is available because providers will typically only talk about you go all in or not, right? Now, you can go smaller dosing, but that's also another thing people don't realize is an option. It doesn't have to be high dose GLPs. Like, I prefer microdosing for a lot of people. Obviously, it depends what your goal is. And you can be on it a lot longer. And also, just something to know is there are different kinds of GLPs, right? Like, the two, I'm more of a fan of, like, trizepatide than I am semaglutide, right? Like, if you've been on a GLP-1 and you're like, I don't really see that much progress, you can also shift to a GLP plus a GIP, right? Which most people know as trizepatide, and you can microdose that too. So there are different options. And now, actually, with Ellie, which is crazy, is you can personalize protocols too, which is mind-blowing. So the base can actually be something different. You can choose between different bases and different, GLPs to actually personalize a protocol for you, which is fascinating. I don't know if any of you guys want to tap on that, because I know that just kind of came out.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It's really amazing, huh? Sarah, take it.
Yeah, I mean, no, you could too. I mean, we're the first company to do anything like it. It's the future of healthcare in general. It's really personalizing that patient experience, and we're just scratching the surface on it. But the company's laid the groundwork to really build it big and offer so much to patients, so that the company can really become like a one-stop shop for everybody, and all of your needs. But yeah, they have L-carnitine that they can add to it, so that's for exercise recovery, fat metabolism, and energy, which is kind of exciting right now. This is with the weight loss version of it too. There's also glycine that you can add to it. That's for muscle preservation, sleep quality. Sign me up for that right now. And cognitive function as well. And then there's also vitamin B12 too. That's also amazing for metabolic balance, nerve regeneration, and then also energy metabolism as well. So yeah, I mean, lots of exciting things with it too.
And it also, yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I was going to say it also gives you the option of oral versus injectable
Yeah.
on a weekly basis, not like every day too. Because when you're thinking about a GLP-1 orally, it's like, okay, now we're talking every day, and it's just such a pain, and people forget. So this is it's huge. It's really and the oral version you can combine it with NAD for energy, mental clarity, mitochondrial support. So it's huge. It's definitely very innovative, and it truly is patient centered. So we're thinking about what is it that you are lacking, that you really are looking for, so that we can provide that support. So it's great.
It is cool. When I found out about that, I was like, wow. Because I will say, like, a lot of people have more issues with, well, again, we're just going to stick on GLP-1s for a sec, with nausea or with just like low energy. And so I know that it was typically paired with B12 to help with that,
Mhm.
which was great. And you can still get it paired with that. But the fact that, like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of carnitine and glycine. Like, usually am using that separately though. So it's really interesting to pair it together. And I've had some people that are really deathly afraid of needles. And that's been
Mhm.
a big barrier is, there is nothing like it. I mean, the market will make you think that there's some. I literally responded to somebody earlier today that said, "What do you think about these GLP-1 patches?" I was like, "Oh, no." I'm committed to that. They'll let you believe that there are other options, but there really isn't anything like, the injectable. And now with different technology coming out, the oral drops is a very interesting option to still get amazing benefits, but you do have to definitely have specific technology in order to actually have it be, absorbed correctly, and actually see it and not waste your money because there's a lot of that. So yeah, the oral is interesting.
Yeah. And I will say this too. Anything oral is not going to have the same bioavailability as an injection though, too. So you kind of have to go into that. That being said though, there are people that do the oral and you hold it under your tongue so it goes into your bloodstream because you're highly vascular here. If it goes into your stomach, it's just going to go through what's called first pass metabolism and probably get excreted and not really take effect in your bloodstream. But it's under your tongue, and there's a special technology that the company uses as well. And it does work. But some people do have to go up on the dose for that to really start feeling it. But it's great for somebody who doesn't have a lot of, weight to lose. Or if you're traveling, I have an aunt, that's going to be traveling soon and she's going to take it. Well, she's like, I'm walking around so much anyway. This is going to be perfect. I actually don't need it as much, as I normally do, like she does for her injections. So it is a great option for people.
Mhm.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day about injecting. They're like, oh, I don't really know if I want. Is there another option? This was
Yeah.
specifically more for BPC, but I was like, yes, there's a capsule for it, but let's talk about the pros and cons. Like, is it
Yeah.
you don't want to do it? What is going to be the absolute best for you? And the
Mm-hmm.
best is going to be injections. It is, but it is nice. There are so many other avenues to
For
it
sure.
accessible.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just I feel like it does people a disservice if they don't actually understand that, and people are just like, yes, this works exactly the same.
Right.
It can be beneficial, but it doesn't work exactly the
Yeah,
same, right?
absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think all of those are great. I'm curious what your guys's, besides GLPs, we've talked a lot about those.
Yeah.
That's a really common one. I know for me, BBC 157, and then you guys, we add TB 500 to it, which is really great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have other favorites that you guys like that we haven't maybe tapped on yet?
Yes. I have honestly, I was one of those people that I was targeting my health first and foremost. So when I went on and I was like, okay, what am I going to start with? I read everything and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need everything. I literally need one of each, but I have to focus on this first. So I started with like a very common stack that addresses a lot of issues, which is a microdose of a GLP-1. It helped with my inflammation. It helped me lose a little bit of the 8 pounds that I had gained with perimenopause. And just truly, I mean, it helped balance myself. I did BPC for my stomach lining, and then I did sermorelin because I was 45 when I started and my perimenopause symptoms were out of control. So that's a super common stack for people to start with when you're starting with more than one, because it addresses similar issues. So like BPC addresses inflammation in your body, and it really is amazing at repairing tissue. So anything that is muscular skeletal issues in your body, so any injuries, any surgeries, any broken bones, you tore your tendons, like anything like that, BPC is going to help repair. And then we pair it with TB500, which is, it's called the Wolverine stack. So it helps regenerate that tissue to get it to its original state, right? Like manufactured or OEM original state. So it's a super powerful healing peptide. And I feel like I'm always going to be cycling on and off of it just because of my stomach issues, but it is extremely anti-inflammatory. So it's used a lot in autoimmune conditions and, and then just in general for people, like people lifting. It helps recover from your workouts. It's an amazing peptide that has a lot of applications.
Yeah.
I think that some people know my story. I won't get super into it. I literally went from winning a bodybuilding show to being crippled, unable to walk, and couldn't get out of bed, had horrible stomach issues, couldn't eat anything for months and months and months, walked with a cane because 5 leaves a day just to go into work. And it's like, I look back and I healed myself completely functionally through functional, tests, through nervous system work, through, supplements, through protocol. And had I known about these, I could have expedited the process so much quicker.
Yes.
I've seen one thing that got me interested in this world too is the positive effects on chronic inflammatory issues and autoimmune issues, because I have a lot of those clients and they're tricky and they can be complicated, and so it's like if they're doing a lot of the basics first, it's like adding this can be at the right time, a really good spark plug to get their body to just work a little bit quicker and get things, in a better position quicker. So, I'm not a quick fix person, never will be, but it certainly can speed things up for the right person. So,
Oh, yeah. I wish I knew about these many years ago. I may have already had a 5-year-old by now, after how many years we were trying to get pregnant too. So, no, I'm the same. I think microdosing with the GLP-1 is where a lot of people honestly start. That's where I started. And then I added on NAD, the NAD, because I was like, I want more energy. I wanted to also change my body composition too, build more muscle, have more energy, exercise, things like that. And that was like life changing for me when I added that on. And then I added on some Morelin too, or Cimarelin. People say, I feel like I always hear people say it differently. But that is really nice for sleep, which I loved. And then, some of that muscle too. And then I got pregnant and then I was off of everything, but I still talk about them all the time too.
But it's funny, I cycle off of my Sermorelin, you can technically, like when we're doing 5 days on, 2 days off, it's technically cycling, but I still cycle off, for a month or two. And during that month or two, like that second week that I am off of it, my night sweats come back. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it is so crazy. Like you don't realize how much it's helping until you remove the support, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I will always be on some sort of form of, cycling on and off of it. I've never tried tesamorelin, which is a step above, 2 steps above sermorelin. It's a hitting the same receptors, but really harder. I have not done that yet, but I love GHKCU. I've done 2 cycles of that, and all the hair that I was shedding from perimenopause started coming back. I had a bunch of like baby hair that just started coming in. It's amazing. And it's super healing too. And when you combine it with BPC, they call it the glow stack because it's repairing you at the cellular level. So it reflects on your skin. But GHKCU helps your body. It reminds your body to produce its own collagen. So everything that uses collagen in your body will get enhanced. Your joints, your hair, your nails, everything, your skin. So that one is I love it. And then my ride or die is NAD. Forever grateful for giving me my brain back. It's like I could not function. And I love it. I just love the clean energy that you get from it. It's not jittery. You're still sleepy at 9 p.m. It's not like I'm up till midnight or 2 in the morning. I'm still going to bed after my kids go to bed, but I'm not crashing at 3 p.m. anymore.
Right.
Like I would crash. I felt like I was, when you're pregnant and you have this, like, you just can't keep your eyes open and you just got to go to sleep. That was me. That was me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm like, it's noon and I need to take a little nap. This was crazy. NAD fixed that whole thing for me.
Ooh, good question. So do you guys do estrogen and progesterone or any HRT or just use peptides? This is a
This
good
is a good one.
You want to
So you want to take it, Sarah? I can
I
take
mean,
it.
I plan on it once I'm done having this baby for sure. I think it's amazing alongside a peptide.
Yeah.
And some people don't. Some people may not need it. Some people get great results, honestly, just from a microdose. A lot of people do it alongside HRT. And our provider, too, is going to be doing HRT in the future as well.
Yes.
So if you have a hard time getting access to it, we are going to be doing that soon. But yeah.
This is part of my story, actually. So I've done the testing for HRT three times now, okay? Twice before this year. And I was always like, still with the red box warnings and all that stuff. I was like, I don't know. And I never started. But I had my test done and it said I had non-detectable testosterone, 0. Okay. Mind you, this was in my 30s, like 39. I had no testosterone. My progesterone was okay. My estrogen was fine. Next time I did it, same thing. My progesterone was a little lower. My testosterone was non-detectable. My estrogen was fine. I just did it in July. After almost 2 cycles of sermorelin, I have normal levels of testosterone in my body right now. Like, I was shocked when I saw my results. I'm like, there is no way. So I'm not replacing testosterone. I got progesterone, and then my estrogen is at normal levels. So right now I am replacing progesterone, and I'm taking it's a DHEA.
Oh.
So that's what I'm doing for hormone replacement.
Yeah, I this is an important conversation. That we won't get like too in the weeds about, but I believe it's absolutely in addition to what I see a lot with HRT or clients that come in on HRT is they're not responding well, and then the doctor will just keep increasing dose. And I'll take a step back here. Functionally, for me, we're working on liver, we're working on drainage, we're working on gut, but sometimes those receptors are still not receiving the information. And that's why they are not working. And so it's not that they can't, and it's not that you have to keep increasing or tripling your dose, but work on those foundations first. HR2 is amazing. When you go into menopause, you're not making those anymore, right? And peptides are messengers, are not the actual hormone. So I'm a big fan of both, and I believe that the peptide can help the receptors just understand what to do better. And when your body is under a less state of inflammation too, those hormones are also going to be received a lot better too. So I feel like that was a good
100%.
Pretty in-depth answer to that question.
I have a client that started with a GLP-1, was not seeing any results. She was like, this was a waste of money. I'm not going to do it again. She started with a GLP-1 and sermorelin. She had been doing HRT. She was feeling horrible. She's like, I'm exhausted. I can't, just what you described. Horrible. And I said, just stick with it. Like, your body's working through something right now. Fast forward the 2 months, she started responding, and all of a sudden, just from losing a little bit of weight and the inflammation in her body, she started sleeping better. It's like, oh my gosh, like my progesterone kicked in finally. Like, like all these other things. So like just what you mentioned, it's like she just needed an extra level of support, or just dropping that inflammation in her body so that the other therapies that she was doing were more effective. So it's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the magic happens a lot of times. We say after about 3 months of really committing to it. I mean, I would even say 6. Truly, it takes time for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've had clients that haven't responded for 6+ months, and like there are some people, a very small amount, that their receptors don't respond at all to GLP. And I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
They're going up on the dose too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's small, and usually again it's like, if you are so stressed out and life is absolutely crazy and you're not doing anything, you're just trying to rely on this too. It also might not be your receptors and just your
Right.
too, right?
There's underlying conditions. There's a few underlying conditions which we don't have to touch on, but there's certain things that will block the GLP-1 from working. And if that's the case, and those people have like either severe hormonal imbalances that are beyond just hormone replacement, and they have to find that, or there's a severe thyroid issue. And so those are like the rare cases, right? Where there's a really underlying condition that's blocking it. And that's where they need to like see a physician about that, those potential issues.
And or just layer it, again, understanding that these can still be powerful, and you might just need to work on, might need to work with a functional practitioner, you might need to do a bioresonance scan. But you also might just need to, work on other things and layer it first, right? And that's why, 3 months, 6 months, I think anybody is so quick to be like, I need the results now.
I know.
Oh, my friend dropped 20 pounds in 2 weeks and I need that too. Why is it happening? Right. And then we start thinking something's wrong with our body and, it's us and this isn't going to work. You do have to give it time, and I've seen incredible results very quickly. And I've seen them, take, I think, Anabelle, you said that too. And that is an important thing to understand. But I think kind of wrapping things up, because, if somebody was really, I guess, no, this is a question. If somebody was interested in starting, what do you wish they understood before actually getting started?
That's a good one. Annabelle, you want to start?
What do I wish they understood? I think we've touched on it so much already. It's truly, this is not a miracle. It's not going to be a quick fix. You still, if you're going down this path, and I tell people, if you're going to invest in this, because it is an investment, and thankfully, these are more affordable and accessible than they ever were before. But if you're going to invest in your health, you have to invest from all angles, not just buying the peptide. This is not a quick fix. You have to really create that consciousness that your life, your longevity depends on every single decision that you make every day for yourself, like what you're eating, if you're working out, if you are really, just go for a walk, right? Like your cardiovascular health is the number one indicator of your longevity. The second one is your muscle mass. Like those things are so much more important than adding any peptides. And so for me, what I want them to understand is if you're not going to be willing to eat your protein, take your water, lift your weights, then you're going to be wasting your money with most of the things that you're going to be doing here, because they're not just going to do the work for you.
I love that. But I will say this though, when you do get started on them, the healthy habits become much easier.
Yeah.
For at least that's how it was for me. That was the life-changing part too. And I think most people that I honestly have helped get started with this, and what I wish they knew too is, like myself, skeptical at first, and just making sure you are getting information from reputable sources, people that truly understand how they work. And also to go into it, with realistic, obviously, expectations as well. But also notice if you're acting out of fear or you just really need more information as well to make that educated decision for yourself, because there's so many people I've helped get started on them. They're like, Sarah, why didn't I do this sooner? I'm like, well, I tried to, and it's such a great tool, especially when you combine it with working with somebody like Shannon as well, who's going to give you those extra tools to really take it to the next level. That's, one of those things that, I wish people knew about before too. So.
Yeah, I love that. And so I'll kind of chime in as far as if if somebody wanted to get started, what that actually looked like. If you're like, oh, this sounds really amazing, I'm still maybe have questions or I'm not really sure, I'm going to put the link below. It is lemd.com/Shannon Salge, Salge. I encourage anybody to go and look at the page and go and see, does this resonate with you? I will say you usually have to create an account to see all of the peptides. I don't know why they don't show BPC on, but they don't, or GHQ, but something that's very, very important to me that I will stress is that if it's something you wanted to get started with, you can do a medical consultation right on the app. You put in your information, you give the info, and the doctor still has to sign off on it. And that's really important. And then if you have questions on dosing or, how you're feeling or you want to go, there is a medical oversight team. And so it's not just, me or Anabelle or Sarah. It's like you have board certified physicians that are overseeing your protocol as well. And you can also ask, me questions as well. If you're like, oh, I'm not really sure. What do you think would be the best place for me to start? I can absolutely provide, insight in what I think would work the best for you guys. But that is very important too. And I just love that it's a one-stop shop. You do not have to go. I cannot tell you guys how long it would take sometimes if I wanted somebody to go on a peptide. It would be weeks and more expensive because you do not have to pay for the medical oversight or the telehealth at all. It is included, which blew my mind, frankly. And so...
And you have unlimited messaging with your medical provider from your portal, from your patient portal. Like any medical question.
That's important though, because some people are, well, my doctor can't answer, but they don't understand peptides in the same regard, right? They might understand a little bit, and I've dealt with this with many clients where it's, they didn't really, it was understand. They just knew it would help, and it could, based on markers, here we go. So, these are people that do peptides day in and day out, and that was something, again, very important to me. It wasn't just some random that thought this was cool and, chimed in, because you definitely get different insight. From those people.
Yeah. Exactly. It's taking the healthcare world a little bit to catch up to this. And even a bariatric surgeon I was working with the other day, he did not know a lot about which I was very surprised. And he actually said a few things that were not correct about GLP-1s. And I was like, I chimed in, and later on he was like, Sarah, you're right. I looked that up. You're right. I did. I was like, I'm glad I could help, and I wasn't trying to challenge him, but I just was like, just so you know, that's actually been debunked and blah, 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 so don't be surprised too. And that's what's so great about this doctor network is they specialize in it too, and really understand it. And they're all MD, DO too.
Yeah. That was something I really look for, along with just, pure, being pure, because a lot of times some of these peptides it's 95% potency. Where are the other 5%?
Right, we want 100%.
Heavy metals usually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's you're injecting this into your bloodstream, person. Be careful.
Yes, I know, and it's hard because look for USA, look for triple purified, look for, MD oversight. Those are things at least that, were obviously very important to me. And community, one thing that's very important is you guys can go and listen to webinars and listen to other people talking about this and keep learning and keep educating yourself on it, which is really cool. I mean, you don't have to be like me and nerd out on all of this stuff, and, but it is cool. So you can just keep feeling empowered knowing, that this is the right decision and that, there's people on your side, making sure that you see results.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Sarah, Anabelle, thank you guys. That was awesome. Private message me on social media, either Facebook or Instagram, or email me at shannon@thewellnessparadigm.com. If you guys have private questions, I will be more than happy to answer them for you. And otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. So
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.